For 3 days, the stray dog followed little Sophia wherever she went. To school. To the park. To her grandmother's house on Maple Street. Always 20 feet behind. Never approaching. Never barking. Just watching with eyes that seemed to know something no one else did. When concerned neighbors finally called animal control, they discovered something that made every parent in town hold their children a little closer that night. The dog wasn't stalking Sophia. He was protecting her. No one knew where he came from. He appeared on a Tuesday morning, standing at the corner of Oakwood Elementary like a sentinel carved from shadow and loyalty. He was a stray dog. A mixed breed with no pedigree, no papers, no value in the eyes of those who measured worth by bloodlines. His coat was a patchwork of brown, black, and tan, scruffy and weathered. One ear stood up, the other flopped down. His frame was lean but strong, built by survival rather than breeding. Around his neck, the frayed remains of a collar. No tags, no name, just worn leather that suggested he'd once belonged to someone. But it was his eyes that unsettled people. They were too intelligent. Too focused. The kind of eyes that tracked movement before it happened, that calculated distance and danger with an awareness that felt almost human. Eyes that belonged to a protector, not a pet. The school custodian tried to shoo him away. He didn't move. A teacher offered him food. He ignored it, gaze fixed on the school entrance. He was waiting for something. Or someone. When 6-year-old Sophia Morrison walked out of the building at 3:15 p.m., braids bouncing, backpack covered in butterfly stickers, the dog's entire body shifted. His ears pricked forward. His muscles tensed. And he began to follow. Sophia Morrison was the kind of child who talked to butterflies and believed in magic. Her parents had died 2 years ago in a house fire. She'd been staying at her aunt's house that night. The only reason she survived. Now she lived with her grandmother. Mrs. Morrison, a quiet woman who ran the local flower shop and loved Sophia with a fierceness that bordered on anxiety. Sophia didn't remember much about the fire. Just smoke. And heat. And a strange dream she'd had the night before. Of a dog barking, warning her, though they'd never owned a dog. Since then, Sophia had been different. She startled easily. Had nightmares. Sometimes stared at doorways as if expecting something to walk through. Her therapist called it trauma. Her grandmother called it grief. But Sophia called it the feeling. That sensation that crawled up her spine when something was wrong. When danger was near. She'd felt it 3 days ago, stronger than ever. And that's when the dog appeared. Day 1. Sophia barely noticed him. Just a shadow at the edge of her vision as she walked home with her grandmother. Day 2, she saw him clearly. He sat across from the playground while she played, perfectly still, watching. When a stranger approached to ask Sophia for directions, the dog stood. His lips pulled back, not quite a snarl, but a clear warning. The stranger hurried away. "Grandma," Sophia said that night, "there's a dog following me." Mrs. Morrison's face tightened. "What dog?" "A big one. He's nice, I think. He's protecting me." Mrs. Morrison called the school. Called the police. Called every neighbor on their street. By day 3, everyone knew about the stray. "That dog's not right," Mr. Peterson from next door said. "Too focused. Too deliberate. He's just a mutt, but he acts like he's been trained. Like he's on a mission. Or unless he's hunting," someone else murmured. Officer Marcus Williams was assigned to investigate. He'd been a cop for 20 years and a K-9 handler for 10. He knew dogs. And when he saw this one, positioned at the end of Sophia's driveway, completely motionless, eyes locked on the house, every instinct he had went on alert. "That's a protection stance," he said quietly into his radio. "But I don't know what he's protecting her from." He approached slowly, hand near his weapon but not on it. The dog's eyes tracked him. Assessed him. Then, apparently deciding Officer Williams wasn't a threat, looked back at the house. "Easy, boy," Marcus said softly. "What are you doing here?" The dog whined. A low, urgent sound. And then Sophia screamed. Officer Williams spun toward the house. The front door was open. Mrs. Morrison was backing away from something, her face bone white, phone trembling in her hand. "Sophia," she gasped. She's collapsed. She won't wake up. I called 911 but..." Marcus was already moving, but the dog was faster. He burst through the door like a missile, straight to the living room where Sophia lay crumpled on the floor, her skin pale, lips tinged with blue. And then he did something that made no sense. He grabbed Sophia's stuffed unicorn. The one she carried everywhere. Clamped his jaws around it, and shook it violently. The fabric tore. Stuffing exploded. And something else fell out. A small electronic device. Blinking red. Marcus froze. Mrs. Morrison, get out of the house. Now. His training kicked in instantly. He recognized the device. He'd seen them in evidence photos. Carbon monoxide emitter. Illegal. Deadly. Small enough to hide anywhere. The house was being poisoned. Get everyone out. Marcus shouted, scooping Sophia into his arms. Call hazmat. Call everyone. The dog ran ahead, barking now, urgent and commanding. The bark of a guardian who'd been trying to warn them all along. Outside, Marcus laid Sophia on the lawn, starting CPR while Mrs. Morrison sobbed and neighbors poured from their homes. The dog sat next to Sophia's head, whining softly, licking her face with gentle, desperate strokes. Come on, sweetheart, Marcus breathed. Come on. Sophia's eyes fluttered open. She coughed, gasped, and her small hand reached up to touch the dog's face. You found it, she whispered. I dreamed you would. The hazmat team arrived within minutes. They found 2 more devices hidden in the house. One in the basement, one in the attic vent. All 3 were set to emit carbon monoxide slowly, subtly, over weeks. The kind of poisoning that looks like flu symptoms until it's too late. Mrs. Morrison collapsed into a neighbor's arms, shaking. Who would do this? Who would want to hurt us? The investigation moved quickly. Within hours, they had their answer, Sophia's uncle. Mrs. Morrison's estranged son, who'd been cut out of the family will. Who stood to inherit everything if his mother and Sophia died. He'd planted the devices 2 weeks ago. But he hadn't counted on the dog. How did he know? Mrs. Morrison whispered, looking at the stray who sat calmly beside Sophia, as if he'd always belonged there. How did he know to follow her? Officer Williams knelt beside the dog, examining the frayed collar. There, barely visible, worn almost smooth, a name and number. Sergeant. Engine 47. Marcus's hands trembled as he pulled up records on his phone. He was a search and rescue dog, he said, voice thick with disbelief. But not official. Not purebred enough for the department. He looked at the stray dog with new eyes. This scrappy, unremarkable dog that everyone had dismissed. His handler was Captain James Rodriguez. Firefighter. James found him as a stray puppy, trained him himself. Said the dog had a gift. Could smell smoke, chemicals, danger before anyone else could. Saved 3 lives in unofficial rescues. But that didn't explain everything. James died 3 years ago, Marcus continued, his voice breaking. House fire on Riverside Drive. He went in after reports of a child trapped inside. Mrs. Morrison's face went white. That's where Sophia's parents. James saved Sophia that night, Marcus said quietly. Sergeant was with him. They got Sophia out, but James went back for her parents. The ceiling collapsed. James didn't make it. And Sergeant. He looked at the dog with something like reverence. Sergeant disappeared that night. Everyone thought he'd died too, or run away in grief. The pieces fell into place like divine intervention. A stray dog that nobody wanted. A firefighter who saw his worth. A child saved from flames. A promise kept across 3 years of searching. Sergeant hadn't been stalking Sophia. He'd been keeping a promise. The kind that doesn't require words or pedigree, only a heart that refuses to forget. Sophia wrapped her arms around Sergeant's neck, and he leaned into her embrace the way he'd probably leaned into James's years ago. When the world called him worthless, but one man called him family. You came back, Sophia whispered. You came back to save me again. And everyone watching understood heroism doesn't need a bloodline. It only needs love. The adoption papers were filed within a week. Sergeant, who Sophia renamed Guardian, moved into Mrs. Morrison's home, sleeping beside Sophia's bed every night. The scrappy stray dog who'd been rejected by the official K-9 program, who'd been found as a stray puppy with nothing to his name, had become exactly what his handler always knew he was, a guardian angel in fur. The uncle was arrested. The devices were removed. The house was cleared. But the miracle remained. A mixed-breed dog with no pedigree finding his way across town to the child his partner had saved. Watching her. Waiting for danger that only he could sense. Refusing to leave until she was safe. The fire department held a ceremony in Guardian's honor. Some whispered that maybe James's spirit had guided him. Others said it was pure instinct and loyalty. But Sophia knew better. She'd felt his love from the very first moment he appeared. A guardian angel who didn't need papers or bloodlines to prove his worth. Only a heart big enough to carry a promise across 3 years of searching. Some bonds are forged in fire. Some love stories begin where others end. And sometimes, the most faithful hearts return on 4 legs, carrying a promise that not even death can break. They said he was just a mutt, but he was so much more. He was proof that the purest love comes from the humblest hearts. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today.